Okay, today we're going to look at a letter that almost didn't happen. It was a letter from the Frierdiker Rebbe, written in 1940, and as we'll see, it only through circumstance this letter ended up being put into writing. But we know nothing is by accident, and it's a great blessing that it happened. It's from Igros Kodesh, the letters of the Frierdiker Rebbe, Chelek Hey, the 5th volume, page Nun Zayin, at the bottom of the page there. It's dated Baruch Hashem Chof Tes Nisan Tavshin, on the 29th of Nisan on 1940, Lakewood, written in Lakewood, New Jersey. So this was where the previous Rebbe had already arrived in America and did travel around a little bit in the early times. And so this was on one of his visits to Lakewood, New Jersey, where he wrote the letter. And we'll see where it's written to in a minute. El Moras, ... It doesn't say the name who it's written to, but it's written to Mrs. somebody. Bracha v'shalom, blessing and peace. So at the bottom there, it's in the note, it says that this letter was copied from a copy that the Secretariat had of the letter that was sent out. And in the Mafteach, in the contents, in the index of letters that the Rebbe, our Rebbe, wrote, he titled this letter Godel Erech Chai Mishpacha, the great value of family life. That's the topic of this letter, as we'll see. So the previous Rebbe starts the letter with the following: Befar mein Opfern von Riga habe ich a paar Mal gelost telefonieren. Before I left Riga, I several times tried to call you. Aber ihr seid nicht gewesen zu Hause. But you weren't home. So this is It seems that this letter was written soon after the previous Rebbe had left Europe. Riga was the last stop where he lived, and he arrived in America. He arrived in Adar, right? So it's only a month after his arrival. And he says that before I left Riga, I tried to call you several times, but I couldn't get through. You weren't home. Und nachdem bin ich over the page gewesen sehr vernommen, and after that I was extremely busy. Als es mir gewesen passet unmöglich abzugeben die nötige Zeit auf zu reden mit euch, das was ich hab euch gewollt sagen. I was so busy to the point where it was simply impossible to give the necessary time to speak with you on the matters that I wanted to speak with you about. So I tried to call you, you weren't home, there was no time to make a meeting, so we didn't get in touch. In the meantime, the Frierdiker Rebbe has left Riga, has moved to America, and from America he's writing this letter. So this letter is only coming about because you weren't home when I called, and we didn't have time to talk, which is a mazel, because had the Frierdiker Rebbe got through, then we never would have had this letter to learn what he would have said. So from the letter, we'll see that this is addressed to seemingly a young married woman who is having trouble in her marriage. Things aren't working out exactly for some reason in her relationship, and so it could be she turned to the Rebbe for advice, and the Rebbe, trying to call her back, is now writing his advice to her. So let's see what he has to say. In kurze Wörter, in brief, in short words literally, in brief, hatte ich euch gesagt, what I would have told you is, as the Familienleben mont bei dem Mann und mehr bei der Frau Aufmerksamkeit. That family life, and here family life is, he means marriage, demands from a man, and even more from a woman, more attention. Edle, aufrichtige, übergegebene Beziehungen. An edel and upright and devoted relationship. Was das muss kosten viel Zeit und Energie, which has to cost a person a lot of time and a lot of energy. So again, that family life, marriage, demands from a man and even more from a woman attention. Aufmerksamkeit means giving attention to what? Attention to create edle, aufrichte, übergegebene Beziehungen. A relationship, to create a relationship that is edel, upright, and devoted. So they're the three adjectives that the Rebbe uses to describe the relationship. Edel. What does edel mean? Yeah, there's not a good word. There's not a word as good as edel, which is why we just say edel, because if you can't translate a concept, it's because in a different culture sometimes it doesn't exist. So they're the words that are untranslatable. Edel, yeah, refined, but it's got more personality than refined. Edel means gentle, subtle. Edel. So an edel, upright and devoted, übergegebene, completely devoted type of relationship. So the relationship has to be edel, has to be gentle, subtle, sensitive, and refined. Upright, has to have integrity, and it has to be with devotion. There has to be devotion to the relationship. And all that has to cost a lot of time and energy. So here the Free Rebbe is already setting up the basis of a relationship, that it needs attention. It's not something that happens on its own, automatically. It's not just that if you've married a good person and it's a good shidduch, a good match, so then everything will be fine. It takes time and energy. Time means there has to actually be time in your schedule that is for the relationship. Like not just like life goes on, but there's a part of your time is spent in working, developing, strengthening the relationship. And energy as well. Energy means, what does that mean? Effort. Like you're going to have to actually work to make it happen. There has to be time set aside, and there has to be energy put into it. But it's not going to happen on its own. There are going to be things that are hard for you to do. Energy means like there may be some tension, some friction that you have to overcome. Like you have to push. You have to change yourself. You have to make work on yourself. So the attention that needs to be given is time and energy that is invested in the relationship in order to create a relationship that is edel, that's refined and subtle, that is upright, and that's devoted, a devoted relationship. So the Friedrich Rebbe gives more detail on this in the third paragraph on the page. Al pi Torah seina kadosha, according to our holy Torah, un al pi seichel habari, and really according to a healthy, logical mind as well, is nicht da in the menschens Leben mehr wie der richtige, schöne, teurerdicke, soziale Leben. There is nothing greater in a person's life than living a correct, beautiful, Torah, true social life. Was euch afilu du mitzvah von kibbut av v'aim, and here again, social life doesn't mean the way we use the word social life, socializing. It means your human interaction that is primarily in your marriage. This is, according to our Holy Torah and according to just logic, according to Seichel, a healthy mind would agree that there's nothing more important than living a correct, beautiful, and Torahic married life. Which even the mitzvah of honoring one's parents wird der Menschen in a gewissen Sinn verbieten auf der Mitzvah von Familienleben. Even that mitzvah, which is one of the 10 commandments in this week's parsha and one of the foundations of morality, but even that mitzvah is pushed aside to a certain extent in the place of family life, meaning marriage. That we find it in halacha, that even though one is obligated to respect one's parents, if parents are interfering in a marriage, then you actually don't have to listen to them. In fact, in Shulchan Aruch it's brought that if somebody chooses a spouse and the parents disagree with it, they don't have to listen to the parents. It doesn't mean that they don't have to listen to anybody in the world, but it doesn't mean that a person shouldn't get advice from their parents, but your priority has to be your spouse, and in a marriage, your first obligation is towards your husband or to your wife, even overriding your obligation to your parents in certain circumstances. So that shows how high and vital and primary a marriage is, that it even overrides kibbut av v'aim, honoring parents in certain circumstances. So now that we've established how important marriage is, how vital it is, how high it is on the hierarchy of priorities, how much that it requires attention, time, energy. So now the Friedrich Rebbe lists some of the ingredients that are required of a good marriage. De aufrichtige, Torahic Familienleben verlangt. An upright, Torahic family life demands the following things. Verstand. I'll go through them, translate them, and then we'll go through each one. Verstand means understanding. Energia, energy. Übergebenkeit, devotion. Geduld, patience. Good-heartedness, good-heartedness. Reinkeit, purity. Gelassenkeit. So here it means calm. Ordnung gekleidet. An orderly appearance. A freiliche Stimmung. A happy mood. Mit a guten Ponim. With a positive face. Und chavrische Beziehungen. And friendly relations. So let's go through them all. Again, some have suggested that there are actually 10 midas here that correspond to the Esser spheres, starting with Edel, which is Chachma, and Verstand is Bina, etc. But we won't go into that. Now let's just try and understand them on their literal level. The first thing is there needs to be Verstand, understanding. What does that mean? Understand each other. I mean, yeah. And what does it mean to understand each other?
To see the other person's point of view.
Right. That by definition, two people are two people. Kashem she'ein patzufeim doimus, the Gemara says, just like our faces, no two people's faces are the same, so too ein desem shavis, so too no two people's mentality, outlook, opinions are the same. So each one of us experience reality differently. So you have two people who just had one conversation and they go away understanding that conversation completely differently. But you said this, no I didn't say that, and I said this. The same words, but they came out differently. I asked you to do this, no you didn't, you never asked me to do that. So this is over and over again going to come up in every relationship. There's going to be misunderstanding, or the potential for misunderstanding, because you understood it one way, I understood it the other way. Verstand, understand means to understand how the other one sees it, how the other one experienced that conversation, and to appreciate that it was different to how you did, and it was just as real. Just because somebody else has totally understood it differently doesn't mean they've totally misunderstood it. They've had a different understanding because that's where they're coming from. That's where their standpoint is. And to understand somebody else means to understand their point of view. If you're going to be stuck in the way you understand things, and it couldn't be any other way, it's not possible to explain it any other way, so then you're not in a relationship. You're not sharing space with somebody else, you're stuck in your way of thinking. Without understanding, there can't be any conversation. So understanding is necessary as a building block of the relationship, to understand the other's point of view. Then the next one was energy, which was mentioned earlier in the letter as well. Energy means that you're moving, you're alive, you're willing to put in effort. The opposite of being lazy, of being complacent, of just letting things stay as they are. There has to be some energy where you're willing to work. If you can't be bothered, so then there can't be a relationship. If you can't be bothered talking about this, or you can't be bothered changing or rethinking the way you do things, or making an effort to not say things that way because it upsets. If you just can't be bothered, if there's no energy, so then there's no movement. There has to be a certain energy, a certain effort expended in the relationship. Übergegebenheit means, how do we translate that one? Devotion. What does that mean?
You know, I came up with one thing once, and I had this insight, I don't know, tell me if it's... I thought, like, in order to be successful in anything, if you boil it down to one point, it's devotion. Because if you're devoted, it's going to be excellent. It's going to be, you're going to put all your, and like everything.
Put your 100%.
Yeah, everything boils down. I don't know. Tell me if this is what I thought of. I don't know. It just came to me once. Anything, if you, just to the point, it's Übergegebenheit.
Well, you've exemplified that.
No, I don't know. So no?
You've proved it right.
Key. That's it.
Yeah.
Everything else is...
So what does it mean to not be Übergeben, to not be devoted to something? What does that mean? I'm doing it, but I'm not devoted to it.
You do it superficially.
The basics.
So it means I'm not putting my full self into it.
You may not believe in it fully?
Yeah. I don't really believe I can do it or it's going to work. I've got one foot in, one foot out. Like, I'm doing it, but doing it half-heartedly. So I'm not putting my full self into it. I'm also not so sure that it's gonna work. So, and one leads to the other. If I'm not sure it's going to work, so I'm not going to put my full self into it because I want to, not put all my eggs in one basket. Maybe this is not going to work, so I'll be over there. So anything that we're not devoted to, it means we're almost setting it up for failure because we think it might fail. So keep our energies, for elsewhere. Whereas something you're devoted to means, doesn't matter what, this is going to happen. This has to happen. This is where I am. I'm committed to it. And so it's going to work. And when that is the attitude, so then you put your full self into it, and your powers, your different talents and skills will all be focused on making it work. And so you'll come up with a solution, and you'll come up with a way around it, and you'll make it happen. So in a relationship, Übergebenkeit, devotion means I'm in this relationship for good, to make it happen. It's gonna be good, and it is gonna work. It's not that I'll see what happens, and if not, you can't walk into a relationship that way. Sadly, that is a very common way of entering relationships in our world. It doesn't. I asked somebody once who was in the dating world, what does it mean to get married today? Not in the religious world, in the general secular world. What does it mean to get married? He says that you're committing for at least 2 years.
Wow.
So that's not devotion. That's not being in. And that's the same with jobs these days. Most people don't see a job as being a long-term thing that they're building on. A job is a stepping stone. Try this, go to that. For better or for worse, but there's not a sense of devotion.
I think it also means there is a sense of if you're confident in something or if you're ambiguous. But I think devotion is also about going that extra mile. You can believe in something and then you can be devoted to it, which means that you really, despite the challenges, you keep on trucking. That is a real devotion. I think it also has that sort of connotation to it.
Mm-hmm.
You can believe in something, but just if you're not devoted to it, then you don't just stick with it.
Right, but we'll believe in something that it's mine. That this is my place. This is where I'm supposed to be. I'm devoted to it. It's more than believing in it, because you can believe in somebody else's project. But when I am invested in it, this is where I'm supposed to be, then yeah, like you said, you'll go the extra mile. You'll put everything you have into it.
Even when it's uncomfortable.
Yeah. Yeah. So we need understanding, we need energy, we need devotion. Geduld. The next one is you need patience.
Mm-hmm.
Which again, if you're devoted, so then you should have patience. But patience is another skill. And patience...
As you get older, you get less patient. More patient. More patient.
Yeah.
It depends what you're doing.
Yeah. Because you
But you have
realize
no
what
patience
you're
for
getting
certain
worked
things
up.
been there, done that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
So when do you need patience?
Always.
But for what? What's the use of patience? When do we use patience?
Relating to things. It brings understanding. If you can be a bit patient, then it shows that you are more understanding, because two people are not the same. And if one person is faster at things or more aggressive and the other person is more placid, but in my life I need a lot of patience. That's my work. I have to really work on.
Yeah.
And I think it also ties in with kindness.
Mm-hmm.
If you're impatient, it's
Mm-hmm.
doing this quickly enough, in my opinion. That's not good.
So patience really is, because you're dealing with somebody who's not perfect, so therefore you have to allow for those mistakes that are going to happen, or the things that are not what you expected or done the way you wanted them to be done. Patience means not to jump to the conclusion that because somebody's made a mistake, so therefore they're bad, or that it actually is a mistake because it wasn't done the way you expected. Patience means to slow down your judgment and to forgive, to allow somebody to be them, even if it's not exactly on your terms. When we're stuck very much in this is how I expect things to be, and if they're not, so then it's a problem, that's being impatient. You can do that with yourself when you're just alone, so you can have your expectations and your goals and the way you want things to be done, and that's fine. When you're sharing space with another person, when you're in a relationship, you can't do that anymore. Because they've got their time and their way of doing it, and their view of what is the best method and way.
I think even with yourself, you need patience. Not only in a relationship, like when you do make a mistake or something goes wrong and you need to repeat something, not to give up, but to be patient with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
It's a different type of patience, but I think patience also applies within yourself.
Yeah, correct.
Patient for the result also. It might happen
Mm-hmm.
with all your efforts.
Right. But it might not happen today.
Yeah. Needs time.
Yeah, that things need time. So, I've told you 100 times not to do that. That's also being impatient. So say another 100 times. Okay, patience. The next one is good-heartedness. Good-heartedness. What's good-heartedness?
Kind.
Be kind, be loving, be accepting. Don't try to pick on the problems or emphasize always the negative or assume the worst or judge that this was done with bad intention. Being good-hearted means being more lenient. Picking out the positive things and focusing on them, assuming the best of people, even when they make a mistake.
See good in people.
Mm-hmm. Yep. That's being good-hearted. Reinkeit means purity. Reinkeit means purity, being pure. How does that work? What's the application of that?
Being honest and loyal.
Being truthful.
Honest, truthful.
You use this word, Reinkeit. You can say emes, I'm saying.
So what does it mean? What does it mean to be pure? It means not mixing in that which is impure, which is false, which is wrong. It means your intentions have to be good.
Truthful.
Yeah. Truthful and honest. I think it includes all of those things. So a relationship has to be based on truth, being honest.
His language also could be part of purity. The language you use.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. being clean in the way you speak, in the way you express. Purity has also a sense of a bit of holiness as well. Like a pure relationship is one that is elevated and pure. Gelassenkeit, he said, is to be calm, to stay calm, which means that even when things don't go exactly right, and even when there really is a problem, but you can deal with the problem honestly, you can be honest, you can be truthful, but keep calm about it. Keep a certain calm in the relationship, that things are not just reactive. Something's wrong, and so I have to immediately explode about it. If it can be dealt with calmly, even if you're upset, being upset doesn't mean you're not calm, but being angry means you're not calm. And when that happens, things can't be dealt with correctly, because then people get defensive and the conversation breaks down very quickly. Whereas a calm conversation, even if it's stern, even if there is emotion, calm doesn't mean there's no emotion there, but it's done with respect and in a way that will be accepted. That will make a big difference. Ordnung gekleidet means an orderly appearance. Being presentable is actually being neat. Is a moral imperative. Which I think could be understood on many levels, that being concerned about your presentation is not being superficial. Somebody who's only concerned about their presentation is superficial. But somebody who is also concerned about their presentation, that's not superficiality, that's an important way of expressing yourself. When someone doesn't look after themselves, so that shows a lack of respect for themselves, it also shows a lack of respect for others. Because everyone else has to look at you too. You only look at yourself in the mirror at the beginning of the day, but everyone else for the whole day has to look at you. So if you say, I don't care how I look, that's being selfish. That's being inconsiderate to all the people who have to deal with you and look at you. Having an orderly appearance shows a sense of self-respect and also respect for others. So while, of course, we don't need to become preoccupied and obsessed with that, but that's also a part of caring for others is caring for yourself and your presentation. So respecting yourself, respecting your surroundings, neatness and tidiness, and orderly appearance.
Yours seems to be specifically in a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I guess to what extent do you get that? You know, often when you go out, that's where you sort of get dressed, you know, get at home.
Of course,
So is it
like
suggested that?
keeping your house tidy. If you're in a relationship, when you're going to be so sloppy and everything's everywhere, it's already everything is, you know, everything has order.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's not just saying for the outside world. It's not for everybody else to be orderly and presentable. It's for your own husband, your own wife, your own family to.
when your husband comes home and everything's everywhere, and let's say, you know,
Not just somebody
Not
comes
really.
into your house, you just
Yeah.
tidy up everything.
not perfect, I'm not saying perfection, but like within,
It's as an orderly presentation. Orderly and neat. And yourself as well, to look after yourself. That again, it's not just when you go out to a wedding, but on a daily basis. The people have to see you every day, and your husband, your wife, like they should see you in a presentable way. The Serb Shlomo Zalman Auerbach was once coming home, and he was with somebody, and they noticed that just before he went to his house, he stopped and he fixed his kapata and straightened his tie and his payas, straightened himself up. So someone said, "Are you expecting a visit or something?" He said, "No." He said that it says that when you have peace in the house, the Shekhinah rests in the home. So I'm about to go home. The Shekhinah's there. So the Shekhinah is there. If you look after yourself for your own wife, so then the Shekhinah is there. Then the home has a divine glow. Next is a freilichen Stimmung, a happy disposition. This is also a moral responsibility to be in a good mood. It's not the end result. It's not that we're looking for happiness. It's that you have to make yourself happy. You have to put yourself into a positive, happy mood. It's an avodah. It's work that you have to do on yourself. And that's the only way that a relationship will be happy, is if you come to it with happiness. It's not to reach happiness. It's not that the relationship should bring you happiness. You bring happiness to the relationship. That when a relationship has this heaviness around it, when I have to worry about every move I make and every word I say that I'm going to get pounced upon or criticized, or you're just going to get upset from everything that happens, then there's no joy in that relationship. There's no connection. It's just eggshells, as they say. You don't know what you're going to step on next and what's going to go wrong next. If there's a happy mood, the basis of a relationship is a happy mood. Yeah, sometimes we get upset and sometimes we are in a bad mood, and like that shifts, but that's not the default position. Is not that I'm annoyed at you unless you do something to get me out of it. The default position is I'm happy, we're happy, things are good, everything's great. Sometimes things happen that upset us, or sometimes we go through stuff for no particular reason, we're in a bad mood. Yeah, they're the exceptions, that does happen, but that's not the default position. Is that you walk into the room and you're going to have to prove yourself to get me out of my misery and my anger at you. You're gonna have to do something exceptional. The assumption is happiness. That's the baseline. And that is a decision. That's not based on experiences. That's not based on what's going on in your life. That's your decision to be in a happy state of mind. Because we all know people who have plenty of things going on in their life that could make them miserable, and yet they seem to be the happiest people in the world. And there are plenty of people who walk around so miserable and negative all the time, and it's hard to actually see what's so bad. But if you decide that I'm going to focus on all the problems and be miserable, okay, that's your decision, and then you can wallow in it. And all the great things that are happening to you, oh yeah, but look at this. Or you can decide the other way, that there's all these fantastic blessings that I have in my life. Life is good, and our marriage is good, and our family's good, and everything's good. Yeah, we've got issues that we're dealing with, but But the baseline, the assumption, the default position is happy. Then people want to be better people. When you're around somebody who's happy, you want to be better. When you feel that you make somebody happy, you want to make them more happy. When there's just misery and negativity, so then why bother? Like, can't win. So freiliche Stimmung, a happy mood. And then he defines that further, a freiliche Stimmung mit a guten Panim, which means with a good, positive face. Sometimes the mood, okay, that's deep within somewhere, but your face, that's what expresses where you are, and that's what other people see. And smiling is not so hard. And it goes a long way. Actually making the effort to smile, to say good morning with a smile, or when you see each other with a smile, hello, makes a big difference. If the smile wasn't there, I think, okay, so what's wrong? If there is a smile, it's like, okay, so then there's a positive mood already. Not always when we don't smile, it's because we're upset or angry. We just didn't smile. But the other person doesn't know that. The other person just sees a straight face rather than a smiley face. So I walked in and you don't smile, so I guess something's wrong. And then they're put into a bad mood, which you may not have been in a bad mood. You just didn't smile. But now they're in a bad mood, which put you in a bad mood, which ruins the whole day for no reason. Whereas a smile can do the exact opposite. A smile is like, oh, things are good. So that changes everything, and that's external, but it's powerful. A guten Panim und a chavrische Beziehungen, and a friendly relationship. Chavrische, a friendly relationship. Friendly means like we're on the same team. I'm on your side. I'm not out to get you. I'm not looking to find the issue. I'm not over here waiting for you. We're together in this. We're living life together. If there's a problem, we're in that together. If you've done something wrong, I'm with you in that. There's a friendship, a friendliness. We err on the side of positive. We assume everything's good. I assume the best of you, and so therefore we're friends. We're connected. We're one. We're a team. So when you have that, so then you're doing well. So again, understanding, energy, devotion, patience, good-heartedness, purity, calm, an orderly appearance, a happy mood with a smiling face, and a friendly relationship. Then you're doing pretty well with all that.
11 ingredients.
Mm-hmm. So, azay darfen sich führen beide. Both husband and wife have to behave this way. Mann und Frau. Aber meistens ist das unbelangt von der Frau. But it is more dependent on the wife. Wie es steht, because it says in the pasuk, Chachmas Nashim Bonsa Beisa. It says the wisdom of women will build the house. The house is built on the wisdom of the women. Die Haus baut die Frau, which means the home is built by the woman. And so her mood and her face and her attitude, that is going to set the tone. He's got to do it as well. Of course he has to do it as well. But the primary energy and mood is going to come from her. Of course, the Rebbe is writing to a woman here. If he'd be writing to a man, he may have said something differently. But this is a letter to a woman. So the Rebbe explains a bit further. Der Nomen Haus meint nicht zu sagen die Gebäude oder die Wohnung. the word house here, that the wisdom of a woman builds her house, the word house here doesn't mean the building or the place you live, the physical abode. The Nomen Ha is meant the Menschens wohnen in allgemein. A home here means the place you live in general, the space you live in, the emotional space that you live in, the place you're surrounded with. That's your home. It doesn't mean the walls. It means the energy that you're surrounded with. Like it says that it is a man's honor, glory, to sit in a house, to live in a house. Das meint nicht nur die einfache Gashmistik Dira. What this means is that a person is only a full-fledged mensch. You can only be a person, a functioning person if you have a house. That doesn't just mean the fact that you have somewhere to live. Nor euch the ruchnistische moralische Dira. What it means is your spiritual and moral home. To have a spiritual and moral home means to have an anchor, to have a place where you can be yourself, where you're comfortable, where you're welcomed, where you know what to expect and what's expected of you. That's what it means to have a home, to have a base. So being homeless is not just that there's no roof over your head, it's that there's nowhere where you belong and where you feel you belong. So that's what it means, Tiferes Adam L'Sheves Bayis, that a person is, their full glory, their full confidence can only be expressed when they have a house. It doesn't just mean a roof over their head, it means a place where they can call home, where they can be themselves. And it's this home about which it says that the wisdom of women builds that home. Meaning that the wife, even more than the husband, creates that atmosphere that this is a home, that this is a place where you belong. So the Rebbe says, "Gewiss muss jeder eine und jeder eine nehmen Anteil in dem gesellschaftlichen religiösen Leben." That certainly every man and every woman also has to take part in the communal religious life. Everyone has to participate not just in your home, but in what's going on in community. You have to do what's beyond the home as well. That's for men and women. It's not enough to just be occupied with your own house. You have to be a part of a society and a community and participating in that. Und was der Mensch ist, Baruch Hashem, bei einem mehr besseren Stand, bedarf als mehr abgeben sich zu dem. And based on how much a person's standpoint is, the better your the more established your life is, the more you have to give over to community life. Aber Reish's call is der Bonsa Beisa bauen die eigene Haus. But the first thing is to build your own house. Meaning, the more means you have and the more time you have, the more you have to be involved with community things. And it's important for a person who's able to, if you're well established in your life, to be involved with other people outside of the home and outside of your family, helping community, volunteering, doing things for others. That's extremely important. And everyone has to do that. And according to their ability, they have to. But the primary thing has to be in the home. And this is perhaps the Friedrich Rebbe is writing to a particular woman who perhaps her communal involvement was in some way taking priority over her familial obligation. And so the previous Rebbe is pointing out, everyone has to do that, and that's extremely important. And the more able you are, the more you have to do. But the priority still has to be in the home. And also implying that when things are good in the home, so then your community involvement can be successful. Because if you're not happy at home, so then you're not going to be very functioning outside of the home either. If you don't have a home base where you go and you are nourished, so then when you go out of the home, you're not fully there. You don't have the strength to succeed in anything else.
Maybe someone's not happy in their house, maybe they can go out and like have that as their home, like, you know, that community service things that they're doing. Just saying, I don't know.
Yeah, some people have a dysfunctional home and they need to find help elsewhere. But that's not the ideal. That's not the way we build it.
I mean, like the community work,
They find their fulfillment there.
yeah, or like their safe haven kind
Mhm.
of thing.
Yeah. But here, the Friedrich Rebbe here is talking about a young married woman who's building her home and family.
That she should invest there.
That's where the priority has to be, and then you'll be successful in the things that you do outside the home as well. So then, the previous Rebbe, coming towards the end of the letter, says the following. Ich muss sagen, the second last paragraph on the page. I have to say, das was tut mir sehr weh zu sagen, something that gives me great pain to say it. Ich hab sehr viel Zahl gehabt. I was really upset. Und leis ato is mir in dem Sinn nicht besser geworden. And till now, I haven't improved, I haven't got over this. Von Eier hat nicht kein Verribbel für meinen richtigen Ausdruck. What really upset me, and I haven't got over it, and it pains me till today, is your, and please forgive me for expressing myself so straightforwardly, but your gering schätzen dem Familienleben. You're making light of the family life. Your dismissive attitude towards marriage. So the Friedrich Rebbe here is saying that I guess when they did have a conversation face to face, she brushed aside marriage as as if it's not important. He says, it pains me till today, and sorry for being so direct. It means the way people talk sometimes. My husband, marriage, people dismiss marriage as if, making jokes about it. It pains me till today. That attitude, if you're looking at it that way, if that's your attitude to what marriage is, so it's painful. It's not good. Ihr seid noch zu jung und zu nicht erfahren. You're still too young and too undeveloped. Und gewiss fällt euch, the next page, die nötige teure Wissenschaft und wissenschaftliche Erklärungen, and certainly you lack the necessary Torah wisdom and the wise explanations. So wissen die höchste Lebenswürdigkeit von Familienleben, to know the very high and vital position that family life has in dimensions Leben in a person's life, und seine Resultaten lederideris, and the consequences for generations and generations of having good family life. You're too young to appreciate, and you don't have the wisdom to appreciate the necessary and the importance and the centrality of family life and the effect that your marriage will have on future generations. Alles on Eisnam, everything without exception. Torah mitzvahs, the Torah mitzvahs, gesund, your health, kinder, your children, parnasa, your livelihood. Verschaffen, nachas, Eltern, und guter Freund, to give nachas to your parents and to your friends, und seine Ohu v'nechman lebrias, and to be beloved and acceptable to others, to be a popular person. Like it says in Pirkei Avos that anyone who people like is liked by Hashem as well. Is alles tali in dem richtigen Familienleben. All that's dependent on a good marriage. So your Torah observance and mitzvahs, your health, your children, your parnasa, giving nachas to your parents, having good friends, being popular and beloved, all that is dependent on a happy marriage. If the marriage is not that way, so then everything else is going to fall by the wayside as well. The basis has to be the marriage. So the Rebbe concludes, Ich wünsch euch, als Hashem Yisbarach soll euch erleichtern euer Verstand und erwecken euer Herz. So I bless you, that Hashem should illuminate your understanding and wake up your heart zu verstehen, das alles, was ich red zu euch, to understand everything that I've said to you. Ihr sollt das alles reinnehmen in Kopf und Herzen. You should take all of it into your head and into your heart. To keep it, to follow it, and with success. And Hashem should strengthen your health and the health of my illustrious friend, your husband, which is also a nice thing for the Friedrich Rebbe to do, to praise her husband, my illustrious friend, your husband. V'yismach es levavam, and Hashem should give joy to your hearts. B'zara chai v'kayama, to have healthy children. V'yitn lechem parnasaschem, barchava gedola, and Hashem should give you your parnasa, your livelihood, with great abundance, begashmis of ruchnius, both materially and spiritually. Hamavarcha, one who blesses you, the Rebbe. So hopefully we get that bracha as well.